Good day, traders. This is the Tradesight U.S. Stock Market Preview for Wednesday, the 19th of February, 2014. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal 11. Rich is out this week on vacation, so I'm filling in. Here's a look at the S&P 500 daily chart. You can see that we had a pretty narrow-ranged session on Tuesday. Slow start to the week. Volume, which has been doing very well lately, over 2 billion shares most of the days so far in 2014. Dropped off quite a bit. We only did about 1.6 billion shares on the Nasdaq. So really light volume for the session, coming back from a 3-day weekend. A lot of people still in bad weather situations back east, and I think that played a role as well. So we had some pretty narrow trading activity. I'll show you the intra-day action in just a moment. But overall, the S&P is very near the highs all over again, as we talked about in the weekend report. And here's a look also at the Nasdaq, which had a little more range today, closed at, again, a new high. The S&P, I'm sorry, the SOX index, this is the semiconductors, also closed at a new high, pushed up just a couple points. And here's the biotechs, boom, new high there as well. Notice that this one is now, if I go to projection mode, on a bar 11 for the seeker count. So two more highs here, or 2 more days in a row, closing at highs, and we've got a seeker 13 sell signal on the biotech index potentially. Taking a look around at some of our bigger trading stocks. Apple had a 9-bar setup on Friday, went up today and reversed, closed at the lows of the session. Google, on the other hand, closed new highs over 1,210 on Google. Amazing run that we've had there. Here's a look at Amazon. Nothing really happened. Look at Netflix. We had a nice short trade in Netflix today, although it rebounded later in the session, but we made some good money on it anyway. And basically a doji candle there on the Netflix. Here's a look at Tesla. Nice breaking out of a cup formation. By the way, our big winner for the session was Orex. We're looking to go long over 705. That's right here. That thing ran nicely for a $7 stock. Nice run on 4 million shares. Look at that volume. So that was a good call for us, the big winner for the session. Let's take a look at the action that was intraday here. So here's a look at the S&P E-mini futures on the 5-minute chart. You'll notice the blue numeric counts are a Comer, and there's a minor session with almost no volume that occurs on the holiday on Monday. But here's Friday, here's today, and we got a 13 sell signal about an hour and 10 minutes into the market right here, and that was basically the high of the session. Here's your risk line from it. We never broke that. So as you can see, what we really did is, this is Friday's close. This is the holiday nonsense. So we gap up a little bit on Tuesday. Tried to push higher, although those opening bars were pretty wild in a couple different directions. Then we ended up heading lower. We filled the gap. The Nasdaq side also filled the gap. That was about it. We got to bounce off of that. And then from that point on, unfortunately, you're basically in a 4-point range, or you're exactly in a 4-point range for the last 5.5 hours of the session, which is horrible, and that's where that volume problem comes in. We really saw some pretty light volume compared to what we've been seeing of late on the Nasdaq. It shows including the aftermarket. Here's the volume chart. 1.7. Obviously Friday was light because you're heading into a weekend, but you can see most of the days since January 1st, except for the first 2 days of the year, which were Thursday and Friday after New Year's. And then immediately volume was up all the rest of January, over 2 billion shares a day. Most of February has been above that, except for one day over a week ago, and then Friday and here Tuesday. Other than that, we've been over 2 billion shares. So that was really light volume for compared to what we've been seeing, and the market certainly behaved accordingly. Let's take a quick look at oil. Crude oil broke out all the way up to the 103 area. This is going to be 9 bars up on crude oil tomorrow, and here's a look at gold, also up. Okay, but overall the market was pretty flat. Happy to have pulled out the Orex and a couple on the Netflix. Didn't do too much else. We will be looking at Wednesday here, where we've got the MBA mortgage index at 7 a.m. Eastern time, housing starts, building permits, and the PPI at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, and the release of the minutes from the last Fed meeting at 2 p.m. and 2 in the afternoon. None of that's huge, but we do have CPI the next morning, and then along with Philly Fed and leading indicators. And so Thursday is definitely the bigger news day of the week. But the one thing we do have potentially tomorrow, Wednesday, is the options unraveling move. This is options expiration week. Friday should be slow because of it. But somewhere, either Wednesday or Thursday, you'll typically get that options unraveling move, and that starts after the first hour's play. So we'll be looking for that on Wednesday. That is the more common day. Granted, we have a short week, but it's usually where we'll see it. We didn't see it today, obviously. So we'll be focused on that tomorrow and looking for anything else that might be going on based on whatever activity the market gives us. We'll be calling the trades in the lab and in the Twitter feeds as usual. Hope you have a great trading day. Hope to see you in the lab.